Welcome back, everyone. You're watching Foreman's Basement. My name is Frank. I'm playing the Marine Band Deluxe in A flat. Really been enjoying this key and this particular harp lately. A lot more than I thought I would when I first bought it. So I'm glad that it's getting some use. Today I want to talk about a very simple method that any harp player can use to improve their tone and get better wah-wahs, and also just kind of understand tone and get a better feel for how it works, using simply your hands and a cup. Now you can use any kind of cup. This is my favorite kind. It's a small quilted glass jar. They're beautiful, they're lovely. You can get them on Amazon. Just look up small quilted glass jar. It's roughly the size of a bullet microphone, and it's actually the perfect size because, in my opinion, this kind of serves a double purpose. If you're just starting out, it'll kind of train you to be ready to hold a bullet mic. Because, see, here I have a bullet mic. It's the Honor HB52. Lovely little microphone. A little bit smaller than most bullet mics, but it serves a point here just to show you guys, to demonstrate. When you play amplified, when you're on stage, or even if you're at home and you're just using an amp, there's a technique to holding the microphone with the harmonica. You have to sort of leave a space, a little tiny cavern, and then seal everything else up. Well, I think that playing with a cup, although it's not exactly the same thing, is a good trainer because these mics are heavy, and it's just good to train yourself to have something to hold in your hands. But anyway, on to the wah-wahs. Now, you can use any type of cup. I got a Glencairn glass, which... As you can see, that's not as great because the opening isn't as big. But if it's too big, you're going to run into the same issue. I have a coffee cup here from the coffee I drank this morning, and let's see if we can get this to work. So as you can see, both of them kind of do work, but really, you're looking for something ideal, something small. I do recommend either glass or ceramic. You can do it with plastic, but I'm just not a big fan of plastic at all. So really the best thing that I can recommend is a small quilted glass jar. Now, what am I doing to create these wah-wahs? Well, it's very simple. The way I think, in my amateur opinion, the way that I think about tone happens on three sort of different levels. In your diaphragm, this is the one that nobody thinks about when they're starting, is that how much of the work is done with your throat. So it's the diaphragm, then the harp itself, and then everything that happens beyond the harp. Now, unlike a lot of other instruments, take a trumpet or a saxophone or a trombone, for example, the harmonica has no, I believe, what they call natural resonant chamber, right? Like, there's not like an extended piece. They do make them, of course. They make the harp wahs, and Honor even used to make harmonicas that did have sort of a cone coming out of them. But the marine bands that we have nowadays, the ones that I play anyway, they have no sort of resonant chamber on the outside. So adding this is a way to sort of trap that tone. And what I'm doing is I'm creating an airtight seal. Again, it's much like holding a microphone. So as you can see, first we'll just talk about how you hold the harp. Notice how both of my fingers are even. It's not, my thumb isn't like this, it's even, and it's creating an entire seal. Again, it's all about airtightness, right? You're really trying to create the tightest seal that you can. And then with the meaty part of my thumbs, I'm covering the rest of that. And then up top you can see, a perfect seal. Now, while I'm playing, I'm making sure that the biggest break in the seal is around this area because my thumbs can't totally cover it. So I'm almost kind of like pushing into my chin part a little bit as I'm playing. I'm sort of just smooshing the whole thing against my mouth to help to create that seal. And you can almost kind of feel it's a great way to get a feel for the vibration itself. Now, when I'm releasing, this is the other big thing, I'm sort of making a little movement with my tongue. It's sort of in unison with the release. I'm just giving it I don't know how to describe it, just a tiny little bit of tongue movement. I don't know if it does anything. I'm just describing what's going on. I hadn't really thought about it until I started trying to record this video. Now, it's going to be hard at first, but the more you get a better feel for it, you'll be able to do them in quick succession, and you'll learn that you don't always want to wah-wah for every single note, and it's really best used in the right place. I'm not quite there myself yet. I'm still experimenting on where you hit a wah-wah or where you just keep it straight. Either way, it's very nice, and I think that it changes the tone a little bit. It almost makes it sort of like an acoustic amplified tone, at least to yourself when you're playing at home. It's a nice, I certainly prefer the tone with the cup than without. And you can see I can still wah-wah without the cup, of course, but it is a little bit harder. Now, another thing that I wanted to mention is the vents on the harmonica, because now it will work with a harmonica that has no vents. This is the, well, you guys know how I feel about this one, but we'll go ahead and play it just for demonstration purposes. Damn, that harp really sucks. Shame on you, Sadell. Might have to give that away or something, I don't know. What I was going to say was, sometimes you can create too tight of a seal. This can be demonstrated on the Sadell, which again has no vents at all and is completely, you're able to completely envelop it. You guys hear that? If it gets too tight, you'll get sort of what I call a negative draw, where the air doesn't know where to go, so now it's hitting blow reeds and draw reeds, and it's just a mess. It's very a very dissonant sound. So you don't want to have too airtight of a seal, and I think that's where the vents really come in handy, is just to let some of that extra air out, just enough that you can still freely move around. Because again, you get too tight of a seal and all of a sudden you can't hit the right notes the way that you want to. So that's important as well. Okay, so, and I think it just helps you understand how tone works, you know, because like when we first start, you know, at least me, I used to just draw directly into my mouth. I hate to compare this to smoking, but it's like the difference between you're hitting a vape and it going straight to your lungs, or hitting, I don't know, a joint and letting it ball up, getting smoke in your mouth and then inhaling it. Well, when you first start, everything is done right in the mouth. You're not even thinking about the diaphragm, but that's really the entire other half of it. I mean, when I'm inhaling a note, I am inhaling from, you know, from here. It's la 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 la. I think a lot of the tone comes from the diaphragm, and the rest of that happens on the outside. That's what the cup is so useful for. One last thing I want to mention, if you start playing up past the 6th hole, you might run into some issues because you can't, you know, it's not actually being covered by the cup. So anything that's beyond this part is not gonna catch that resonance. So you might have to adjust just a little bit, see, so that you can, you know, it might be a little bit uncomfortable trying to create the seal and hit up on the higher notes. I don't usually play on the higher notes, but if you, I don't know, if we were doing something like Summertime, for example, I guess this would be in B flat. You'll also note that it just works a lot better on the lower reeds because it's a, I don't know, I guess it's a lower vibration and it just seems to carry a lot better within the glass. So keep that in mind as well. Yeah, it just seems to really, and it just gives it a really nice, well-rounded effect. I would definitely say it slightly improves tone, so check it out, guys, and let me know if it helped you, and drop any tips or hints you have in the comments. Thank you, guys.